Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima. Sounded like something was coming outside my door there. So, I wanted to talk to you about The Legend of Bumbo. Let's just launch it. Because I have never seen a game, actually to be fair, I probably have seen a game come out more unfinished, but this is unfinished in a lot of really obvious ways that I feel the need to just point them all out. Here's the first way. This is very clearly like a Unity launcher that hasn't been touched in like the slightest, but if we go to input, you can see a few things going on here. None of this is even remotely useful to me, mainly because this game is a match 3 and it's played entirely using the mouse. How strange is that? Also, it can't detect my displays properly because apparently I've got 2 rights. I don't know. Yes, I am on 4 monitors. Anyway, let's just play it. No, that was definitely not the right monitor. I've never been able to guess right. I've got it wrong every single time. But, of course, that's me. So, this is actually one of the nice things about the game. It's got the traditional Binding of Isaac style cutscenes. But we're not going to worry too much about that because, well, that's always been one of the things about these games. The story told via the cutscenes. And this is what the main menu looks like. It looks a bit bare. Like, really bare to me. And it gets even worse when you click through and get to the actual main menu, which is literally just like a piece of paper on a bit of cardboard. There's no, like, animations going on around the outside. There's no, like, there's not even any sort of, like, responsiveness when you mouse over a menu option. Because you see, I could be clicking like right about here, and I might be clicking play tutorial, or I might be clicking new game. It's hard to tell since it's on that slide slant, and there's no responsiveness when you mouse over anything. Also, no sound options whatsoever. The fact that I had to go and turn this game down via the Windows sound mixer shows that you're really not ready for prime time. With that said though, there is something that I want you to pay attention to though. If you can, I might turn up the audio here just to be safe so I can turn it down again later. But the thing I want you to pay attention to is specifically how the game has basically no sound effects. Like, it doesn't have any sort of soundscape going for it whatsoever. A lot of things that really should have sounds don't. Like, clicking through here doesn't have any sound whatsoever, despite the fact you should be hearing something, surely. You would think they'd make some sort of like cardboardy or papery sound effects with the whole everything stuck on a piece of cardboard thing they got going on here, but it's got very little in the way of just sound depth, which makes the entire game feel a bit flat. Which is almost exactly how it's supposed to feel, I think, mainly because of the fact that it's all bloody paper and cardboard glued on paper and what have you, but, well, I'm not going to say for sure, it's not my game, not like I designed it or anything, so the actual game itself is pretty simple to understand. It's traditional match 3. Like, it's so traditional. It has almost nothing really going for it in an almost funny way. Like, oh dear. Alright, we'll just use the Bumbo Smash ability. There we go. But yeah, it's got almost nothing going for it. There are a couple of things that the game has which are kind of interesting. It has trinkets and it has excuse me, brain ain't working tonight. Nice. Just gonna slow you down. It's got trinkets which are more or less just like active spells that you can use, a la Puzzle Quest, and it's also got passive items that you can use for anything in particular. You've got multiple different kinds of tokens you can match out here on the board itself. Yellow, P, gives you extra moves. Brown is poop, so it gives you a little bit of a shield there from individual hits. Bones give you attacks. Green gives you snot, which will clog them up. And the tooths are just another kind of attack. A slightly stronger attack, maybe? If I'm being honest, I haven't been paying that much attention, so it's kind of hard for me to tell. Let's re-roll this shit. Thank you. And we'll go for the 5 and the 4. Nice. Here's the thing I've got about the gameplay, though. Like, watch this. None of those coins, when they hit the ground, had sound effects. Really, really should have had sound effects. And it feels so weird to be going between these individual rooms and having nothing be outside. And the more you play, the more you realize that random stuff that really should have sound effects doesn't. Like, you'd think these flies would have, like, a buzzing or something. You'd think, like, the poops would have some kind of sound effects going on. Like, even the music doesn't really help, because the music just feels... What's the word I'm looking for? Uninspired, I think the biggest problem with the music is. I don't find myself enjoying the music in this game at all. It feels like... You know how... This is something... It's completely unrelated to this game, except for how it was a thing. But anyway, let me just explain the story. You know how in Streets of Rage 3, the composer Yuzo Koshiro actually fed a bunch of random numbers into a synthesizer and used it to make a soundtrack for the game that way? It kind of feels like they did the same thing for this, but with guitar riffs, and it turned out shit. That seems to be pretty much every music track I've heard in this game so far. I've played a couple of runs so far, and that just seems to be the long and the short of it for me. The music just sounds really random for some reason. I'm not going to claim to know what the attempt was, but what they were trying to do. But that's just what it sounds like at the end of the day. It sounds like random guitar riffs, and it's just not really that pleasant to listen to. Unlike the Binding of Isaac soundtrack, which had a fair amount going for it in the way of interesting sound design, fit the theme great. I actually really enjoyed the soundtrack to the remastered version as well, but in this game, it just feels soulless. Like they weren't really sure what they were doing. And it's kind of depressing, if I'm being honest. After the Binding of Isaac hit like a damn truck, it just feels so strange to be playing this really quite basic Match 3 game and just not really enjoying it. Considering how amazing the Binding of Isaac is, and the fact that they're going to be releasing like a, what's the word? They're releasing another expansion for it sometime next year. So, was this just like something that Edmund McMillan came up with to take up his time to make him feel better about it? Because, to make him feel better about all the time you spent on Isaac? Because, gotta be honest, this ain't working for me in the slightest. Now, you might think that, oh, you haven't played very much of the game, you haven't played very much of the game, you need to play further on. Well, the game doesn't exactly make that easy for you. It does the Binding of Isaac thing, where they make you replay through the game several times in order to actually get through the initial areas. But it's even worse in this game for whatever reason. I'm not going to claim to know why, but they just... It's like as soon as you beat a boss, they immediately throw you back into... As soon as you beat a boss, they immediately throw you back to the main menu and make you play again. Potentially with another completely different character. It's just, it's not great. It almost feels like it's wasting my time, which seems to be something I'm having real trouble with lately. In terms of games that just feel like they're wasting my time. A couple of other things. Despite the fact that this was meant to be the release build, achievements don't work. Which I'm really surprised by, actually. Like, how did that one get past QA sessions? There are a couple of other things too, other minor things, but I think I've made my point. It just fails to be interesting in pretty much every way. Considering this came from the guy who was at least partially responsible for Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac, this just is not doing it for me. It feels so humdrum. Even games like Ironcast and hell, even Puzzle Quest feel like they've got more original mechanics than this game does. Also, it can be kind of annoying because this interface here is slightly oversensitive for my liking, so I mean, it's simple if you're taking your time, but if you're trying to get through it relatively quickly, it can feel like that. Gain 1 damage to the room, sweet. It can feel like the game is just barely making you miss your target, especially if you're trying to play relatively quickly. Which is what I've been trying to do, because the game feels the need to reset your progress every time you beat like one boss. It's a little odd. Also, they reset all the mana that you built up in between rooms. So you get to do the whole mana building thing every time. And it's just like, not great. For being honest, not that fun. Not that enjoyable, not that engaging or interesting. Which is so strange to me. That'll do. Okay. Sure, I don't even know what happened there. I didn't even get to see the board before he just died. Yeah, now that we're here, we get to buy things, roll the stat wheel, and, of course, play the shell game. But watch this. Considering how much that this game actually charges you for that, in comparison to how it charges you in Binding of Isaac, and the fact that it's still as random as ever, just makes it feel really not great. But yeah, I'm pretty much done. And look, I can't even exit from here, so I just have to sit on this menu. Ah, that's annoying. That was a quick look at The Legend of Bumbo and why polish is important. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time. Also, I just want to point out, continue, there's like no sounds in here. Do you, like, no soundtrack, no sound effects for the most part. It's just really, really quiet.